Today we will begin the first seclusion of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam began to retreat in the cave of Hira, the Jabal Hira, the mountain of Nur. This began a few months. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam started to have this love for seclusion. 6 months or maybe a year before prophethood was given to him. It is something that Allah has placed in the heart of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But when Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was nearly 40 years old, he developed a fondness of periodic retreats. Having been given a particular love for the cave of Hira, which was located in a mountain northwest of Mecca. He used to seclude himself there and spend night after night devoting himself to worship. Such periods of seclusion would last anywhere from 10 days to an entire month, after which he would return home. Then, after staying there only a short time, he would prepare himself for still another retreat and return to Hira. His life continued in this fashion until during one such time of solitude, the divine revelation came to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one of the benefits of secluding or taking retreat away from the people, or the fact of the matter is that it helps spiritually and it does help mentally. To sit in a khalwa or to seclude yourself from the people, to sit and meditate. For meditation is a form of a cure and a form of relaxation. It helps to ease the mind. When sometimes you're overwhelmed with thoughts, sometimes you think so much that your thinking does not stop. And the scholars have taught us through the seerah of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that seclusion helps. Seclusion helps. But we don't take it upon ourselves to seclude ourselves from the people for days in and days out. If I want to go into seclusion, then you speak to a sheikh, you speak to a scholar who has experience in this and how to prepare you for seclusion. Because sometimes seclusion without awareness, seclusion without being guided, to self-seclude yourself for many days, in some cases, it might have the opposite effect. Okay? Some people actually go into seclusion for so long that sometimes they come out not knowing reality because they self-secluded themselves. They read the seerah, they heard about the saints of Islam, the awliya and the salihin. They used to go into khalwa, they used to go into seclusion. So they thought they'd take it upon themselves to do and implement what they did. Because it is recorded that Sayyidina Abi Hamid al-Ghazali did get into seclusion. But he had a sheikh, he had a mentor, he had a murshid that taught him. At the same time, his own sheikh was bringing food. Okay? So we cannot self-seclude ourselves for many days. We can do it daily. For example, we can allocate a time throughout the day, maybe half an hour, but just between me and Allah Azza wa Jal. Do your tasbih, do your adhkar, not a problem. But to isolate yourself for many days without the sheikh or without your guide preparing you for it, then it is recommended do not do that because it might have the opposite effect. Okay? It might have the opposite effect, and we don't want to go too deep into it. And the benefit of seclusion, especially the way Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to seclude in the cave of Hira. At this time, he was almost 40 years old, and he was 38, 39 years old. And he was married to Sayyidina Khadija. And he had some of his children already born. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as well at that time, was still working here and there, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But when he used to seclude himself in the cave, he used to prepare himself for days prior to seclusion. He will make sure his family is in good hands, make sure Sayyidina Khadija is well off, is okay, she's not in need for anything for a few days, make sure that his children are fine, make sure that his children have their needs met, and so forth. So the Prophet ﷺ didn't just pick up and leave his family behind, not knowing where the Prophet is, not knowing where her husband is, not knowing where the father is. So the Prophet ﷺ used to prepare. Okay, so we read that the Prophet ﷺ went into seclusion, that he used to prepare and he used to prepare his family for his leaving a few days before. Okay. But Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to take some food up with him, food that will last a few days. And you won't take much food, just enough for his stomach not to make those noises, as they say. And he'll take drinking water enough for him to survive a few days and nights in the cave of Hira. SubhanAllah, on this note, we were blessed to climb the mountain. And SubhanAllah, in a time where there wasn't no people there, it was just me and a few brothers. SubhanAllah, we sat in the cave. No one was there, so we had a certain time to come in and go out. We had all day, mashallah. Allahu Akbar, we sat there, done what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired us to do, pray 2 rak'ah, and face the Kaaba itself and try to imagine what the Prophet was going through. And for the first time when he seen Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, and we started to look around the mountains and how the Prophet would look when we come a third of the way, see Jibreel again, and so forth. We're going to get to it soon, inshallah. It was a very, very spiritual experience, mashallah. But that cave, subhanAllah, the Prophet, in reality, Allah allocated the cave of Hira for Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When you sit in it, it is catered, yani godly, as they say. It was a godly catering, a cave. Yani, the way it's set out, it's comfortable. If you want to lie down, if you want to sit, subhanAllah, it's amazing. And it's rocks. It's volcanic rock. SubhanAllah, it's comfortable. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. For secluding oneself, as the Prophet did, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is beneficial. And we explained before how to do it, and the do's and don'ts. So that's what it is throughout the day, throughout the night. When you have given your family their rights, you have given your children their rights, you have given their work its right. Sit for a few moments, even a few minutes. Just sit there and contemplate about Allah. Okay? To glorify Him. It's glorification. But for example, subhanallah, just contemplate how wondrous is Allah. How merciful is Allah Azza wa Jalla, to allow me to believe in His existence. How wonderful is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing me to walk on the path of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How grateful should I be to you, O Allah, when you have enlightened my heart to accept Islam, when the majority of your creation are in darkness and I am in light. Oh Allah, how great are you? contemplate in this kind of situation, in that sense. Inshallah, that will help you spiritually and mentally as well. And I hope you as well, you need to allow you to overcome some overwhelming daily situations. Okay. Is there any questions before we move on, inshallah ta'ala? This took part, now the event took part in the month of Ramadan. What we're going to mention now took part in the month of Ramadan. And that is the beginning of the revelation that was brought to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We'll explain, inshallah ta'ala, that what happened when Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in the cave of Hira. In the cave of Hira, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was said that it was during the day, and some assume that it was during the night. Okay? When he was first visited by Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. But most likely it was during the day. Okay, most likely it was during the day when Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was visited for the very first time by the Archangel Gabriel. Now, Sayyidina Muhammad is sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the cave, meditating in a form of worship, worshiping Allah Azza wa Jalla. We said that all the prophets before prophethood had a belief system, a pure belief system in a God that exists, in a God in His oneness, in a God that created the universe. They all had that belief system naturally. Okay? Naturally, it's a form of fitrah. But for the prophets and messengers, even before prophethood, their fitrah is amplified. It's not corrupted the way our one gets corrupted, how we are raised in life. Their fitrah is never corrupted, the prophets and messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our fitrah, our natural position, natural disposition, natural inclination, it gets corrupted somehow in a form that it doesn't get corrupted, but in a form that it gets clouded. Okay, from the corruption. Okay, but the fitrah of the Anbiya, even before prophethood, were never clouded, nor any corruption in the outside world will affect the purity, the pure fitrah. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam now all of a sudden finds a man just appeared before his very eyes. A man out of nowhere appears in front of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But out of nowhere this man appears on the tip of the mountain, or just almost on the tip of the mountain. And he grabs Sayyidina Muhammad and he hugs him. Sayyidina Muhammad is a big man, he's a muscular man. He's not easily grabbed. So Sayyidina Jibreel had to come down in a more stronger version to grab Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But he grabbed him and hugged him so tight, squeezed him, until the Prophet said, he squeezed me to the point where I was about to lose consciousness. A strong grip I could not move from it. And as soon as I was about to lose consciousness, he would release that squeeze. And then he would say, Iqra. And then the Prophet would say in amazement, Laysa biqari. I don't know how to read. Because he was illiterate. And again, Jibreel alayhi salam hugged him. And he released him, said, Iqra. Laysa biqari. Read. I don't know how to read. Third time, in release. Iqra. He said, Laysa biqari. And Jibreel alayhi salam said, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. That the Prophet understood sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that Iqra here for Sayyidina Rasulullah is repeat. So the Prophet ﷺ would repeat what the angel will say. Then the Prophet was introduced to Jibreel by Jibreel. But now Jibreel alayhi salam is introducing him and saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you a responsibility to carry the message. To carry the message of truth until the day of judgment. Sayyidina Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was shocked to hear this news. Okay? He had a fear, not a fear that you have from a beast, but he had a fear of being nervous. That Allah now is giving him a responsibility. But the Prophet ﷺ, as he's rushing down from the cave of Hira, leaving the cave of Hira, rushing down to go home, he would stop in some places and he would look and he would see Sayyidina Jibreel standing on the mountain. And then he'll come back and he will travel down more. And again he will look and he'll see Sayyidina Jibreel in that form, same form. And then he would disappear, and then he would reappear to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But then Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it was said at that time, when Sayyidina Rasulullah was on the flat ground of the mountain, he heard a sound. And in some books of seerah, interpretation, the voice proclaimed and said, Ya Muhammad. He said, O Muhammad. So Jibreel called up Sayyidina Rasulullah. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned towards the horizon, and he's seen Jibreel in his true essence, in his true picture, sitting on a throne between the heavens and the earth. Jibreel alayhi salam. Jibreel alayhi salam had 600 wings. And it was said that his wings, the main color of his wings were green, bright green. And feathers of different color. And his feet had green feathers. It was a pure light and white color. He had nur emanate from him, light emanate from him. And the Prophet seen pearls that sweat like pearl-like sweat rolling off the wings of Sayyidina Jibreel. That the wings of Sayyidina Jibreel will produce pearls. Allahu Akbar. And the fragrance that came out of Sayyidina Jibreel is mesmerizing in its smell, how beautiful it smells. And he had a handsome-like picture for an angel. Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. And Sayyidina Jibreel, when he said his size is not known exactly. The Prophet only gave us what he's seen, that his head was in the heavens and his feet were on the ground. Some ulama said that Sayyidina Jibreel wasn't on earth when he manifested his true size, but he was beyond the universe. But Sayyidina Rasul has seen it in that vision. It's hard to explain and it's hard to comprehend, because the size of Sayyidina Jibreel is bigger than the universe. In reality, the might and the quwwah and the speed and the size of Sayyidina Jibreel, Gabriel, is incomprehensible. But the Prophet gave us an image of what we understand. But as well, this is the first time Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam seen Jibreel in his true form. In his true form. And then Sayyidina Jibreel left. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came home. As you know the famous story, he ran to his beloved wife, Sayyidina Khadija. Sayyidina Khadija wrapped him up. She was comforting Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Rasulullah, don't be afraid, don't be nervous. Allah will never shame you. Allah will never shame you, Ya Rasulullah. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was comforted by his beloved wife Khadija. Sitna Khadija will tell you a story when we finish on this, inshallah. We'll continue on next week, ta'ala. Sitna Khadija even knew specialities of angel, of Angel Gabriel to prove to sort of give comfort to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that the one that's visiting you is an angel. How do you know this? She said, when he visits you, let me know. I said, okay. But Jibreel alayhi salam came down to visit Sayyidina Rasulullah. Visit Sayyidina Rasulullah and give him salam. The Prophet sing to her, Jibreel is here. He goes, all right. She took off, she had a veil, and then she took it off like this. She said, is he still here? She said, no, he disappeared. So she put it back on. Is he here? Yeah, he came back. But she lied on his lap. As a wife does to the husband. He said, is he still here? Said, no, he just went. And she got off, she got up, she sat. And she said, did he come back? Yeah, he's back. This is Jibreel, the archangel of the heaven. She knew this from her uncle, Waraqah ibn Nawfal, who told her the sifat of Jibreel alayhi salam. He used to come down to the Anbiya before Sayyidina Rasulullah, Sayyidina Musa, Sayyidina Isa, Sayyidina Zakaria, Yahya, and all these beloved messengers of Allah and Prophets of Allah. She understood. And this is the shyness. Look at the shyness of Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. He will honor the privacy of Sayyidina Muhammad and his wife. That he will just naturally get up and go away. And then he'll come back. When the environment is right. It's an honorable angel, and they're all honorable. Sayyidina Jibreel as well said later on that my favorite mission was the mission that Allah gave me to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look, generally he will come in a particular form. There's two forms that he'll come down in. One who is unknown, and the other one which is known in human form. The first one that's known will come in the form of a companion named by Yahya al-Kalbi, radiyallahu anhu. Yahya al-Kalbi was an Ansari, he lived in Medina, and he was known to be a very handsome tradesman as well. That gives us the understanding that angels like to come down in a beautiful form. Okay? But it's not a condition, because we know the story in books of hadith that an angel came down as a human with leprosy. He came down with the baldness and blind. So they will come down in that as a test for mankind. But generally, when they want to come down as a messenger, they will come down in a handsome form, and only in a form of men, not form of women. Yahya al-Kalbi generally, because he was an exporter-importer, he was always outside of Medina. So he was hardly seen. And he came down once in a form, and that was in the 10th year of the Hijrah, a few months before the passing of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Famous story. بينما نحن جلوس عند رسول الله إذ طلع علينا رجل شديد بياض الثياب شديد سواد الشعر لا يرى عليه أثر السفر. That famous hadith that everyone knows. Sayyidina Umar said, radiyallahu anhu, a man appeared before us. He had extremely black hair, and the oil tamed hair, brushed hair, extremely white clothing, no sign of traveling. It's seen upon him. Usually, when you wear a white thawb or qamis or abaya, we walk here in Australia and we got concrete everywhere, hardly any dirt, and still, mashallah, you see dirt specks on us. But nothing was to be seen on the clothing of that man in the heart of the desert, as they say. But they were amazed. But he did come down as well in a form of a man which no one recognized him. Okay, no one recognized that man. Okay, so the angel did come down in that form, which was unknown, recognizable Arab.